Okay, we're going to get started now. Thank you again for your patience. Welcome again to the Family and Community Introduction to Imagine Learning and Illustrative Math. Before we get started, I'm going to hand it over to our interpreters to give you some instructions for the interpreter service of Zoom.
中午好，本次会议提供中文普通话口译服务，请按照以下步骤进行设置。第一步，点击口译 Interpretation， 并在菜单中选择中文。第二步，请点击中文，并选择原始语音静音 Mute Original Audio， 请收听口译员的翻译，谢谢。
Padres participantes que hablan español. Se ofrece interpretación en español. Paso 1. Haga clic en Interpretación, Interpretation, y elija Español, Spanish, del menú. Paso 2. Haga clic en Español, Spanish, y seleccione Silenciar audio original, Mute Original Audio, para solo oír al intérprete.
Pais participantes que falam português. Oferecemos interpretação em português. Primeiro passo. Clique em Interpretation e selecione Português no menu. Segundo passo. Clique em Português e selecione Mute Original Áudio para ouvir apenas o intérprete.
المشاركون الناطقون باللغة العربية. الترجمة الشفوية متوفرة باللغة العربية. الخطوة الأولى: انقر على الترجمة الشفوية Interpretation واختر اللغة العربية Arabic من القائمة. الخطوة الثانية: انقر على اللغة العربية Arabic واختار كتم الصوت الأصلي Mute Original Audio لسماع المترجم فقط يتحدث.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, I'm happy to turn it over now to our presenter from the Office of Curriculum and Instruction. This is Ms. Jess Tilley. Jess, take it away.
Thank you, Adam. Good afternoon and welcome to our Family and Community Introduction to Imagine Learning Illustrative Math. I am Jess Tilley, Director of Math in the Office of Curriculum and Instruction, and I'm thrilled to join you and spend time digging into our vision for mathematics across our district and our new high-quality, standards-aligned core resource that will be implemented this coming school year. I also want to add that I'm a parent and someone who wants ideas of how I can support my own children at home. So I'm excited to share with you the great resources available that guide parents to partner with teachers and support their children at home. So for today, our goals are to first consider the School District of Philadelphia's vision for mathematics that we hold as an office and as a district. And then we're going to dig into Imagine Learning Illustrative Math and just get a brief overview of what this new math program is all about. And then ultimately, we'll spend some time exploring the resources that are provided for families to support children at home. So to start off, we're going to consider the School District of Philadelphia's vision for mathematics. So our vision is that students will be active members of a mathematical community where they see themselves in mathematics and use mathematics to examine their world. All students think mathematically and they will be empowered to own, share, and do mathematics. What I'd like to ask is that you take a minute to, in the chat, put a word or a phrase that resonates with you from this vision. A word or a phrase that jumps out at you and makes you think about math. I see active members, empowered to own, share and do, examine their world, practical, mathematical community, examine their world, use mathematics to examine their world. Oh, I love that, where they see themselves in mathematics, think, empowered to do math, empower, mathematical community, empowered, active members, active learners. Math is an art. That's not in it, but I love that. I agree with that. So yeah, there are some really powerful words and phrases in our ultimate vision for what mathematics should look like, feel like, sound like in our classrooms. And so from the first day of class, as we begin to learn about each of the students in front of us, we have the opportunity to set the stage for how learning math will feel like throughout the year. We also begin to foster the attitudes and beliefs that are important in shaping a mathematical classroom community where every single student is positioned as a capable learner and doer of mathematics, truly believes their voice is valued and heard, and understands that the way we learn math is by doing deep and meaningful mathematics together. And someone, I know you can't see the chat, but someone put math is power. And I could not agree with that more. And our children are brilliant and capable of holding that power if we give them the opportunity to do so. So I want to thank you for engaging in that and sharing your ideas with us. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the next slide. And I just want to give you the experience that we hope our students are going to get every single day with our new core resource. So this is taken directly from the core resource, and this is how we start the classroom. So what do you notice and what do you wonder? I'm going to be quiet, and in the chat, share what you notice and or what you wonder about this picture graph. I'm intentionally waiting to call out your ideas because I don't want to sway your ideas by hearing the ideas just yet of everyone else. But in the math classroom, we give our students think time, then they have time to talk to each other, and then they share out their ideas so that everyone can have a chance to independently think, but then learn from each other. So here are some of the ideas that were shared. The middle is low. What are we measuring? They are all the same. Some lines are higher than others. I wonder how many students are represented by them. Oh, someone said bimodal distribution. I wonder what the x-axis represents though. Got some math thinkers in here. The second column from the right has the most students in it. If assuming the right side is the high side, more students understand. I wonder what the axis label is. It seems like it is missing information. Some are more, some are less. I wonder what the data is all about, what the graph is supposed to be showing. I wonder how many students are represented by one stick figure. I notice stick people at different heights and wonder what it means. I'm wondering if this is students on grade level. Unequal number of students and what is the value of each symbol? I notice that the graph doesn't have a title. I wonder what the peak represents. Thank you for sharing so many brilliant ideas with me. Yeah, there's a lot to notice and wonder in this picture graph. Let's go to the next slide. So now that you've had a chance to just notice and wonder, what situations could this graph represent? So in the chat, what different situations, contexts could this graph be about? I see someone saying any really, but give me more. What are some specific things that this could be about? So I see favorite colors or flavors, food, ice cream, pets, students on grade level for math, favorite colors, levels of learning, on track, off track, check for understanding, test scores, ages, birthday months, how many students like different things, could be showing the cultural backgrounds of each student. The graph could represent the choice of snack each student likes in a club. How much they agree with something represents number of students on or above grade level. So you can see there are a lot of possibilities here, and there's no wrong answer, right? There's only ideas that you all can share and that our students can share about what they're noticing, wondering, and what it could be. And really thinking in this way and digging in without focusing on a correct or incorrect answer gives everyone the opportunity to make sense of what they're looking at before they start to dig in and answer math-specific questions. So if you could go to the next slide. I just want to ask you to consider how this warm-up that you just engaged in invites students to bring who they are and what they know to the classroom community. So in the chat, if you want to add a thought about how did this engage you and invite you? Someone said this warmed up their brain. Someone wrote no right or wrong answer. Can you imagine if you had been a kid where this was the way your classroom started, where it wasn't so judgy? I see no judgment. It allows for thinking and engagement. I felt included. It is equitable. It's very open-ended. The warm-up is an open-ended opportunity, giving students the chance to answer. Brought out some background knowledge of what we know about math first, open-minded. Yeah. Lots of great ideas in the chat. Thank you so much. I mean, I would just again ask you to consider like your own experiences in the math classroom and what it might have felt like if this was the way you had been invited into instruction. And then think about that vision I shared with you in the beginning of this session around positioning our students to be the thinkers and the doers of mathematics. And opening up a class this way really changes the game for children. And I think it's really powerful. And I see some more anonymity. All students can participate. It allowed me to apply what I know to a new situation, which is really how the brain works. Talk one-to-one to give more chance to talk about math. It gives the teacher some direction, absolutely, because now the teacher is starting to collect that data that they're finding from the conversation and the ideas that students are sharing. Thank you so much. This is, I'm so excited about what I'm seeing in the chat, by the way. So we're going to move on to the next slide. We're going to start to dig into this new core resource that we have adopted as a whole district called Imagine Learning Illustrative Mathematics. So just to give you some context, in 2010, the Common Core was developed, and it was the first time in our history in the United States that we would come together to create consistent, rigorous educational standards and stop letting so many children fall behind academically. One of the authors of the Common Core is the author and the head of illustrative math, Dr. Bill McCallum. And basically, he realized that there was a need for a program that really lent itself to the standards. The standards set high expectations, and he found that most math programs did not meet those expectations. So this new program that we're going to be using aligns seamlessly to the standards. What's also really nice is that illustrative math and Imagine Learning both share a passion for improving student outcomes. And because Imagine Learning is a certified partner of IM, the materials that are provided through Imagine Learning adhere to Imagine Math's philosophy and have been developed, reviewed, and approved by Illustrative Math. So as the year goes on and even more resources are added to Imagine Learning, all of those resources are vetted by Illustrative Math. So they collaborate continuously on creating exclusive features that support instruction. And also, it's rated all green by Ed Reports, which is always one measurement that we like to make sure our programs adhere to. And you can see on the screen the quote from Dr. Bill McCallum: "The curriculum is structured so learners have opportunities to make connections between mathematical ideas and relate them to real-world contexts for success in algebra and beyond." And that's our goal as a district, to make sure our students are ready to reach their limitless potential in mathematics. So now we're going to show you a relatively short video that really talks about what it means to be a problem-based learning program. So I'm going to be quiet so you can play in here. Adam, we cannot hear.
learning. A problem-based approach to mathematics puts students at the center of their own learning. Rather than passively following steps and procedures, they actively engage in and do the math, resulting in deeper conceptual understanding. There are three key pillars of the illustrative mathematics problem-based instructional design: coherent progressions, balancing rigor, and instructional routines. Each unit, lesson, and activity has the same overarching design structure: an invitation to the mathematics, followed by a deep study of concepts and procedures, and finally, an opportunity to consolidate understanding of mathematical ideas. This coherence allows students to view mathematics as a connected set of ideas that make sense together. Achieving rigor in math involves balancing three processes: conceptual understanding, knowing the why behind the how; procedural fluency, being able to solve problems efficiently and accurately; and application, using these skills to solve problems. In illustrative mathematics, these processes are developed together throughout the units, lessons, and activities in ways that support student understanding. The curriculum features inclusive instructional routines to support equity and access and guide teachers in assessing student progress. They free up teachers to focus the energy they would have used on structuring activities for other things, such as student thinking and how mathematical ideas are playing out. The routines support students in connecting to the mathematics as they think, reason, and actively participate in their learning. In Imagine Learning Illustrative Mathematics, students engage in rich tasks that are relevant and engaging, in scenarios like measuring ingredient quantities in recipes or calculating a fair portion of a cake. It emphasizes collaboration, with students learning from each other and finding solutions to problems together. The teacher's role is vital, but it goes beyond explaining and correcting. Instead, teachers use the instructional routines and formative assessment tools to monitor and facilitate questions that reinforce understanding and help students to synthesize their learning at the end of the class. Benefits of problem-based learning include increased student satisfaction and confidence, which in turn results in deeper understanding and the development of adaptable skills that can be applied outside of the classroom as we prepare today's students to become tomorrow's innovators.
So hopefully you can see, even just by watching that quick video, how much this new program aligns with our vision of mathematics. And that's exactly why this program was selected by the numerous teachers, principals, school leaders, district leaders, parents, and central office staff. So I want to call out for everyone that one of the hallmarks of this program is the integrated supports that are in place to make learning accessible for all of our students, because as teachers, we are responsible for 100% of the students in our classroom. So there are embedded callouts that help teachers with strategies to support accessibility and align to one of the three principles of UDL, or Universal Design for Learning, which are engagement, representation, and action and expression. Additionally, mathematical language routines are utilized daily to support our English language learners, which both our students with disabilities and our English language learners make up a large percentage of our student population. And there are also extensions for our students who are ready for more of a challenge while staying in grade level standards and just going deeper into those standards. So these supports are built in, easily accessible for teachers, and user-friendly so that they can use them in the classroom to meet the needs of all of our students and create that access and equity that our students deserve. If you go on to the next slide, we're going to start to get into the resources that are specifically available for families to support their children at home. So we believe so strongly that families can and should partner with teachers to help reinforce math instruction. And family materials are included several times in each of the Imagine Learning illustrative math units. These materials give an overview of the unit's math content and provide a problem that parents can work on with their children at home. So there are family videos for each unit, there are support letters, and there are summaries. And so within that, there are unit level summaries that help preview or review math ideas. There's also an I Am Talking Math series for K-8, and these are really amazing. They're visuals that a parent could use at home and ask questions. You are provided with questions. We'll dig into that in a little bit. And then also K-5 teachers will have centers in their classrooms and will be able to assign digital centers and or provide families with with a Blackline master that gives information on how to engage with the center at home. And we want to use those centers at home because the more we play games, the more activities we engage our children with, the more solidified their fluency can become. So for now, we're going to focus just on family videos, support letters, and summaries. And on the next slide, you're going to watch a quick video which provides you with an example of a video that would be provided for families on the platform. We cannot hear it again. Oh.
Hello, I'm Deborah, and welcome to the Family Support video for Grade 1, Unit 2. In this unit, students keep developing their fluency with numbers from 1 to 10 as they add and subtract and also solve story problems. Students start this unit by working with problems that involve adding to or taking from. A problem that involves taking from or subtracting might go something like this. Ava has 3 marbles. Serena gives her some more marbles. So now Ava has 9 marbles. How many marbles did Serena give Ava? To help solve problems like this, which can involve adding to or taking from, students can start to create equations where a value needs to be found. For example, in our marble problem, the unknown value is 6. When looking at addition and subtraction problems, students will also come across the equal sign. The equal sign tells us that what's on either side of it has the same value. Here are a few examples. 9 is equal to 2 plus 7. To help solve problems like this, which can involve adding to or taking from, students can start to create equations where a value needs to be found. For example, in our marble problem, the unknown value is 6. When looking at addition and subtraction problems, students will also come across the equal sign. The equal sign tells us that what's on either side of it has the same value. Here are a few examples. 9 is equal to 2 plus 7. 9 can also equal 7 plus 2. 9 minus 7 equals 2, and 9 minus 2 equals 7. Students can then use their new understanding of addition and subtraction to work out how many more and how many fewer. For example, here, student B has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more cubes than student A. We can show this thinking with the equation 3 plus blank equals 10 to say how many more cubes student B has. or the equation 10 minus 3 equals blank to say how many fewer student A has. The answer to each is 7. Later, students will use this understanding to solve addition and subtraction problems within 20. There are lots of activities you can do at home to help students understand that numbers can be added to or taken from in different ways. A game of shake and spill is a great way to start. Just grab 10 coins, a cup, some paper, a pen, and get playing. Shake and spill. First up, spill the cup of 10 coins on the table. Ask your student to count how many landed heads up and how many landed tails up. Then, both try to write the results as an equation. The equation could include adding to or taking from. There are many ways to show this. So if you have different equations, that is totally okay. Take turns spilling the coins and have fun counting. A fun twist to the game can involve covering up some of the coins. Ask your student to cover their eyes while you put the coins in the cup, shake and spill them, and cover all the coins that are heads up with the cup. With their eyes now uncovered, see if your student can figure out how many coins are under the cup. And just like before, try writing different equations to show the result. Then switch roles and play again. As you play, ask your student to keep an eye out for how the numbers in an equation match the coins on the table. Oh, nice job. I hope you have fun playing the game and seeing how adding and subtracting can boost your students' understanding of numbers. Rest easy knowing that as they solve problems, analyze and write equations, they are building the meaning of the equal sign. And that will help them as they continue to solve more difficult equations like those with fractions and multiplication and division. I'll see you for the next unit.
So there was a question in the chat about that activity. Is there another way to do this activity? Many people are not using cash money, so families may not have coins. There are always modifications that can be used, like 2 colored counters would work perfectly in that situation, where one side is red, one side is yellow. But a lot of the activities can be used with anything at home, taking that into consideration. So thank you for that question. So I don't know about you, but I get really excited about those videos because not only are they giving me the background knowledge about the math that my child would be learning, they also are making suggestions about activities that I can do at home with my children that are engaging and not stressful, right? Something that I can enjoy and experience joy with my child at home that still supports what's happening in school and the math that they're learning in the classroom. So I really appreciate those videos, not only as an educator, but as a parent. Another really amazing support that Imagine Learning Illustrative Math provides are these materials that include parent letters that explain the math behind what students are learning. A lot of the strategies that our children are learning now are different from the ways that we might have learned. For example, most of us are probably familiar with the standard algorithm because that's the way we learned, but maybe are less familiar with partial products or an area diagram or an area model. So what's nice about these family support materials is it provides families with that insight, with that background knowledge about the math. And that way, families are better positioned to support children at home using those strategies that are more transparent, that are more visible. So for example, a standard algorithm is not so transparent, and it can be really challenging when a child goes from touching manipulatives to all of a sudden the abstract standard algorithm. So we've learned a lot about the brain, and that's why we're now using strategies that in between the manipulatives and the concrete and then to the abstract to make sure that students develop that deep understanding before we jump them to that abstract idea. Another thing that those support materials provide are ideas for a task, a question that you can do at home with students. So you can see here that one suggestion for this particular unit is to try these two problems around the end of the unit and ask questions like, can you draw a diagram to help you solve the problem? Can you explain the steps of the algorithm? And I think these are really great because sometimes we think we need to have all the answers as parents and sometimes as teachers as well, but we don't. We just need to ask the right questions to get our children's wheels spinning so that they can think more deeply and we don't give away the ideas without giving them the opportunity to come up with them. On the next slide, you'll see another example from algebra. So these support documents are available not just for K-8, but also for high school. And they give, again, the same sort of idea, content background, so that parents can try to understand what the children are learning about in school, and then more suggestions for tasks that students could complete at home that would support their learning in school. On the next slide, you'll see lesson, section, and unit summaries. So the summaries are not necessarily every day if they are K-5, but 612 has lesson summaries after each lesson. And these are housed in the student workbooks, but they're also available digitally. So you can see here that this is from a K-5 unit, and there is a section summary. So the way K-5 works is after each section of learning, there's a summary of the learning. And this is done in kid-friendly language that also includes new vocabulary that students are learning. And it really helps to summarize the big idea that was found in that section. And I think I answered that. So it depends on the grade level, whether it's shared daily or weekly. And so moving on, we've talked about the videos, the support letters, and the summaries. Now we're going to talk about the I Am Talking Math series, which is something that I really love. So if you go to the next slide, you're going to see an example of one of those pictures. So basically this I Am Talking Math series gives you a picture, something visual to start with. And then there are grade specific questions that can be asked of your students. So I'd ask you right now in the chat, what does this picture remind you of? Okay, I see categorizing, farmer's market, shopping for ingredients, going shopping at the market. Yep, lots of farmers markets. I guess we have a lot of people going to farmers markets, open farmers market. I love farmers markets, by the way, they're so much fun. Colors, being hungry. Oh, Eric is hungry right now. I understand, I feel your pain. So what's really great about this this Talking Math series is it reminds us that math is not just in a math classroom, right? Math is everywhere. There is nowhere where you can't find math. And one of the hallmarks of our vision is really thinking about how math can be used to understand the world around us. So these Talking Math series prompts are really wonderful, and they continue to remind us that everywhere we go, everywhere we look, we can think about math, we can ask questions about math. And there's still some things coming in the chat, like Reading Terminal, recipes, yes, shapes and sizes. There's so much math in just this one picture. And if you go to the next slide, you'll also see that there are different questions based on whatever grade level your child is. So if you have a kindergartner at home, you might show them this picture and ask them, how many different fruits and vegetables do you see? And the code that you see underneath that question aligns with the Common Core standard for kindergarten. So that one is a measurement and data question standard. But maybe you have a fifth grader and you want to ask them to estimate the volume of one of the boxes of the picture and explain or show your reasoning. So you can see that we have differentiated, different grade aligned questions that can be asked of our children. And again, I think this series really promotes the idea that we can always think about the math in our context. So when we're walking along the street, and we can be thinking about how many steps we have to take, how tall buildings are, how many windows there are, how many trees there are. There are always opportunities for families to think and talk about math with their children. And doing so is one of the most powerful things a family can do to support their child in math. We know, at least it's more widely understood, that in order to help your child become a reader, you should read to them every day or read with them once they get to the age of being able to read. Well, in math, the best way to support your child is to think about math, to talk about math, to play with math, and to create joy around math. And that positions children to become thinkers and doers of mathematics. So I really love this I Am Math Talking series. And it just occurred to me that I forgot to share with you a document that I will get for you in just a second. And this document provides a link to all of the different resources that I have been sharing so that you have access to all of the great resources. So in the chat, if you want to take a second just to open that up, there are all the resources that we have been discussing, and then we can keep going. So apologies for being a little late on that. So as we continue, there's also I Am Talking Math for 6th through 8th grade. And so I'm going to ask again, what do you notice and what do you wonder about this image? And you can throw that in the chat. So what do you notice and what do you wonder? I see heights, evolution of buildings, world structures. Do they get taller at regular intervals? Different buildings. Each image is in order from smallest to tallest. I notice monuments from around the world. I notice points on every building. Very cool. So again, this is real, right? This is, we don't need to just talk about math and math. We can also merge history or architecture or science or ELA, right? There's always opportunities to think about this in our real world context. And so one of the hallmarks of illustrative math is making math real and making it contextual for children. Same color, different shapes, different heights. I wonder why they all have points at the top. Nice. So lots of great ideas of what we can notice and wonder. And again, this is just an example of this series that is provided for you in the resource that I shared in the chat. So last, I want to talk quickly about centers. In kindergarten through 5th grade, every teacher is going to be getting a center kit for their classroom. And one of the great things about centers is they provide engaging activities and games that help children practice the content that they're learning, the skills that they're learning. And so one of the ways that teachers can use centers to support families is they can assign digital centers on the Imagine Learning Illustrative Math platform. And they can also provide families with Blackline masters of center activities to support fluency development. So let's take a look at the next slide where you can see an example of what one of these centers might look like. So here's an example in probably 4th grade, because we don't talk about numerators and denominators in 3rd. And this is just a game that children will be playing in school. And so families can take this Blackline master, or they can use it digitally, and they can play the same game at home. And so you can see the directions that say, pick a number on the game board, don't tell your partner, give your partner a clue about your mystery number, and you can use the vocabulary below to help give clues or to make up your own. So what's really great about this is it's fun, it's engaging, and they're still practicing the learning that's happening and the content that they need to gain and skills they need to gain. So these centers are really wonderful to help develop conceptual understanding to practice math facts, because ultimately we want all of our students to be fluent with their math facts, and it brings joy. So I'm all about math games and math joy. All right, so let's keep it moving. What does black line mean? Oh, sorry, black line is just, it just means it's a document that's provided for teachers that they can share out. So it's just the document. They call it Black Line Masters, and that's a pretty common description. It's just a document that a teacher could print out. So ideas for encouraging students. So let me just say that when you, there are times where when you start a problem-based classroom, it can be challenging for students at first, because this type of classroom doesn't focus solely on correct answers, but rather how students are thinking and what strategies they are utilizing. And over time, students will gain independence as learners because they are having opportunities to share their rough drafts of ideas, compare their existing ideas to new things. They are learning and revising their thinking. And many students and families have shared that while this is challenging at first for their children, ultimately their kids become more active learners in math, which helps build skills that they can take responsibility for their learning in other settings, in other subject areas. So we want to give you some ideas for ways that you can encourage your student at home when they are coming across something that might be a struggle. So here's an example. If you're not sure how to get started on a problem, that's okay. What can you try? Could you make a guess? Describe an answer that's definitely wrong, draw a diagram or representation. I think about life, like my own career. There are often times where I don't know what to do right away when I'm presented with a task or a problem, and I have to sit with it. I have to try different things. I have to brainstorm. So really doing this work in the math classroom is giving students the skills they need to apply that in other settings, in other scenarios. The next piece of encouragement is, if you're feeling stuck, write down what you notice and what you wonder, or a question you have, and then share that when it's time to work with others or discuss. The practice of noticing and wondering on a regular basis as that invitation to the math classroom is not just a fluffy, hey, what do you notice and wonder? It's something we want students to do. We want them to start with thinking about every aspect of a task they're presented with, and what do they notice and what do they wonder, and then apply that when they are stuck. Because if we start with just sense making and wrapping our minds around the task at hand or the problem that we're facing, we're better positioned to come up with a solution that makes sense and apply a strategy that will hopefully work out. Another piece of encouragement is that your job when working on problems in this class is to come up with rough draft ideas and share them. You don't have to be right or confident at first, but sharing your thinking will help everyone learn. If that feels hard or scary, it's okay to say, this is just a rough draft, or I'm not really sure, but I think. We really want to create risk takers in the math classroom. Again, most of us did not get this experience as students. We had anxiety, and some of us still live with that math anxiety because everything was so focused on a right or wrong answer. But we want to cultivate the kind of classroom community where students take risks, where they know they can they can share their ideas without judgment, where they can try new things, and that ultimately, collaboratively, those ideas will be refined, and ultimately they will learn what we need them to learn. On the next slide, some more ideas for encouraging your students. Whether you're feeling stuck or feeling confident with the material, listen to your classmates and ask them about their ideas. One way that learning happens is by comparing your ideas to other people's ideas, just like you learn about history by reading about the same events from different perspectives. I feel like, could it be more important now than ever to learn how to listen to other people? One of the ways we know we have to operate in the world is by listening to each other. And I can tell you from my own perspective that when I listen to my colleagues and I consider their ideas, I am a better professional because of that. I'm also a better human when I listen to my family and friends. So again, this idea of this math classroom and this math community is not just to succeed in mathematics, but it's also developing skills and strategies that you can apply to life to be better able to tackle those problems, those challenges that we all come across in our daily lives. And then one more piece of encouragement: at the end of class or when you're studying, take time to write some notes for yourself. Ask yourself, do I understand the lesson summary? Do the learning targets describe me? If not, write down a sentence like, I understand up to, but I don't understand why. Share it with a classmate, teacher, or other resource who can help you better understand. We need to support our children in developing skills that they can advocate for themselves. Self-advocacy is an amazing skill. And when you have it, you are able to walk around the world, making sure that you're not living in a state of confusion, and make sure that our students are armed with the ability to ask those questions they need to ask to better understand. We don't want children sitting in seats feeling confused and not speaking up. And we know that we have too many of them. We know that we have children who are struggling and don't know how to do something. And we want to make sure that part of the work we do is to empower them to self-advocate, to ask for help when they need it, to share what they do understand and what they don't. So I'll just end with this quote, that when students are doing the talking and the thinking, they are doing the important work of learning. And while we all sat in math classrooms where we were told how to do things step by step, we are now positioning our students to be the thinkers and the doers of mathematics. And what a powerful thing that we can do for our children by giving them the opportunity to think and to show their brilliance and to learn and to communicate and to be a part of a community that can ultimately use mathematics to advocate for themselves, their families, and their communities and make a difference in the world. So I want to thank you for spending this time with me digging into Imagine Learning Illustrative Math. And my email address is on the screen, as well as our math team. If you have questions, you need help, you have concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out. And at this time, I will try to answer as many of the questions as I can, but feel free again to take down my email and reach out with anything. Okay, so let's see. Terry, there is going to be, the whole recording will be available, so you can definitely watch it after the fact. And maybe, Adam, do you want to come on and share when and where they'll be able to access that video?
Hi, Jess. Yes. So after the video comes in and we do some just editing and color correction and all that, we'll post it on the district's curriculum and instruction website. And then we will send a message out to all families, letting families know where the resources are and how they can access them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So Alex says, follow up on my previous question. You said, yes, the resources are already translated into Spanish. The entire program is translated into Spanish, and the district is working with Imagine Learning to, or our team actually, to translate the other top 8 languages. Okay, let's see. So each school will be sent student workbooks, and each unit has its own workbook. So if you're a kindergarten teacher and you're doing unit 1, every kindergarten student can have a unit 1 workbook. You should send home as needed. That is up to the discretion of the teacher and the school. So I would take the lead from my principal around what you would like to send home, because ultimately, if you send home a workbook and it doesn't come back, that could be a challenge for a teacher. So you'll have to think about that with your team and decide how you want to address that. But students will have access at home to the digital platform, and you could always, that's a place where parents can access some of the resources that we talked about. Will you be sharing the materials that students will receive, information about logging in? Can we receive a sample login to explore the materials prior to the school year? The one-stop document that I put in the chat for now will probably be your best bet. It has a landing page for our community members, so you can start looking in that place. and you will get more information on login accounts when the school year starts from your teacher, your child's teacher or principal. Let's see. So as far as what students will be provided for home, as I shared with you, there are lots of resources that teachers and families can use at home to practice the learning that's happening in school. So the example that you saw in that video was even ideas for how to play a game at home that supports the learning. So, and different tasks that are offered in those parent letters and summaries and practice problems that are provided in the workbook. So, yep, that is what you'll be able to use. Is there data showing the impact of illustrative math on standardized assessments? As you saw, illustrative math is rated green on Ed reports, and there has been research to show that it has, when used with fidelity, improves achievement. So, yep. I believe, Adam, you can jump in on this last, the question about being given a device, but I believe as was the case last year, that students were all provided Chromebooks that they were able to use and bring home. Is that accurate, Adam? Or
Yep, that's correct. The district is will provide a Chromebook to every student.
Great. I'm not sure how to answer when comparing the old curriculum to the new curriculum, do we know the average or percentage of increase in students? Because we haven't used it with our students yet. So that's a hard question to answer. But what I can say is that our old curriculum, we were using multiple programs throughout the district, and sometimes teachers were having to navigate multiple programs to teach lessons. So now that we're going to all be using one program, every single classroom in every single school will be using illustrative math in their mathematics classrooms. You can imagine that that process will be a lot more uniform, easier to navigate. And this program is so much aligned with our vision for mathematics that we believe that it is going to significantly impact student achievement. I don't know what about grades 9 to 12? There are no centers I think that might be about centers. There are no centers 6 through 12. There's practice problems, but of course there are always opportunities to engage with different ideas and concepts at home in ways that are meaningful and joyful, and your teacher can always provide you with those suggestions. I see a question about the curriculum being used in conjunction with the math framework. So the essence of the framework is the pedagogy of the framework lives in illustrative math. Again, another reason why we collectively selected this program. And while we won't be referring to that language anymore, we won't be calling the warm-up and opening routine. It is in essence an opening routine, but we are going to follow illustrative math with fidelity in the way it was designed. And so again, the essence of our framework lives there, but we're going to not be using that language per se. Okay. Will the pacing guides be updated to match illustrative in alignment with the math framework? So I already answered the question about the math framework, but yes, Ryan, the pacing guides are all updated. They will be available. All pacing guides will be available to teachers and school leaders, and they are to support teachers to use illustrative in the exact order it was designed for, and with every part of illustrative, making sure that teachers' lives are a little bit easier as they navigate that. Like I said about the languages, resources are available in Spanish and are currently being translated into the 8 top languages. About tutoring after school in math, that you might want to talk to your school principal. I know there are some tutoring initiatives happening across the district, but I can't speak to whether there will be tutoring in every school. So that is a question for your principal. And Terry actually shared that schools get to decide if they allow Chromebooks to go home, but all will have them in school. So again, that could be a question that you ask. If you have a need though, if you don't have a computer at home, I would reach out to your principal and let them know that that is something you need. Maybe they can do that on a case by case if the school does not send it home. I think I've answered most questions. Oh, as an intervention teacher for math, am I able to get the demo account? Absolutely. Please shoot me an email and I will make sure that you get that. Thank you for putting that on our radar. Will this list of Q&A, including written answers, be available with the recording on the district site? Adam, I'll let you answer that.
We're going to start with the recordings first. We are in the process of putting together a Q&A, and these questions will inform that Q&A. Can't promise it'll be available at the same time as the videos, but they will eventually be available, yes.
And I think we answered all the questions. So if anything comes up for you though, and you'd like to reach out to myself or to my team, please do not hesitate. We want to make sure that this implementation is successful, that people feel supported. And, you know, this is a year of learning. Teachers are learning a new program. We want to give teachers and leaders grace as they navigate this new core resource, and we want to make sure that families feel supported. So let us know how we can do better. Let us know how we can support you. And I just want to thank you again for spending the last hour with us, learning about this program, learning about our vision for mathematics. I hope that you're walking away with some really good information, really good insight that you can potentially share with other people. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.